Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dental Board Reviews. And so today we're going to discuss bacteria types. Okay, so the type of bacteria we have aerobic, anaerobic, and facultative type of bacteria. So usually the bacteria are always based on the use of oxygen. Okay, so we're going to look at these different types of bacteria. So the aerobic bacteria, that's what we start with. So aerobic bacteria, these are bacteria that use oxygen to make ATP. ATP, this is energy, okay? So most of the living organisms, they get energy through ATP. So they break down glucose and go through oxidative phosphorylation to make ATP. And this process requires oxygen, okay? And these bacteria, they thrive in the presence of oxygen. So aerobic bacteria, they need oxygen, especially if they are obligate or strictly aerobic bacteria, meaning if they are strictly aerobic bacteria or obligate aerobes, meaning they always need oxygen to survive, okay? And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, Dental Board Reviews on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe so you can get updates, okay? Okay, so what are examples of strictly anaerobic bacteria? So you have nocardia, you have Pseudomonas aeruginosa, you have Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and Bacillus species. Okay, so these are strictly aerobic bacteria which need oxygen. Now, for those in dentistry, why you may wonder why somebody has, if somebody has, they eat and they sit down and they don't talk. So the oral cavity, the mouth, is not receiving oxygen. Okay, so the oxygen in the mouth is going to be depleted, and most of the bacteria which are going to survive are those which don't need oxygen. So that's when you start having these issues like bad breath and all those things. So you have to consider, if you are eating and keeping quiet or mouth closed, most likely you're going to have bad breath, and also you have to make sure you floss in between the teeth to make sure you remove any source of nutrition for those bacteria. Okay. All right. So, what are obligate anaerobic bacteria? So, obligate anaerobic bacteria are those bacteria that can only live in environments that lack oxygen. So they cannot be exposed to oxygen. They are like vampires, which vampires don't like the sun. And so these ones, they don't like oxygen. If oxygen is introduced to them, they die. So oxygen is toxic to obligate anaerobic bacteria. Okay? These anaerobic bacteria, as I mentioned before, they can be found in the oral cavity and the other areas of GI tract. Okay? All right, so let's look at examples of anaerobic bacteria. The obligate anaerobe. These are the mass anaerobic bacteria which should not be exposed to oxygen. So you have bacteroid species. Okay, usually these cause abscesses when they're available. You have fusobacteria. So you have chronic periodontitis. You know when person has deep pockets. So the deeper the pockets, so at the deepest area of the pocket, you're going to find some of these bacteria. Fusobacteria, Streptococcus, Prevotella. So these are very common in periodontitis. Also abscesses, actinomyces, Echinella, Neisseria, and Capnophaga. Okay, so these are obligate anaerobes, and they die when exposed to oxygen. This is the reason why, because most of these bacteria, they thrive in an area which is lacks oxygen. So when you introduce things like hydrogen peroxide, which has oxygen in it, it's going to kill this bacteria. If somebody has an abscess and you even do like an incision and drainage, open it up, the oxygen goes in that area, or the blood flow increases to the area, bringing oxygen, so this bacteria dies. Okay, so this is how you can help the patient by understanding the types of bacteria involved in pathologies such as periodontitis and abscesses. Okay, so then we have what we call facultative bacteria. So what are facultative bacteria? So these are bacteria which can carry out aerobic respiration to make ATP when oxygen is available, but if oxygen is not available, they can also carry out fermentation. Remember, before glucose, okay, before glucose enters the Krebs cycle, so you have glycolysis. So glycolysis, in the absence of oxygen, is going to produce in humans, you produce lactic acid, lactate. Okay, in bacteria, it forms. We call it fermentation. So it forms also lactic acid, or it can form also alcohol. Okay, so in areas such as fungus. Okay, yeast. Okay, so in the lack of oxygen, facultative bacteria, they can still live by carrying out fermentation. Okay, so you have to know the types of bacteria. So what are examples of facultative bacteria? We have E. coli, so Escherichia species. You have lactobacillus. So lactobacillus, these are the most of the bacteria which are found in probiotics. So if you take probiotics, you're going to find there's a lot of lactobacillus species that are very good for our health. Okay, but you have to know that these are facultative facultative bacteria, so they can live. You can call them facultative anaerobes. They can live in oxygen, or they can live with less oxygen. Then you have Listeria, staph, so Staphylococcus. Staphylococcus, this is a culprit for a lot of dental infections, and Streptococcus, the two. So you know Streptococcus viridans group is a culprit for most of periodontal disease and dental abscesses. Okay.